everybody. Excuse me, I look like a drone rat. I literally just got out of the shower, so pardon my appearance. Tonight we are going to be talking about closures. This will probably be a 2-part series, so if you are watching this right now, you are watching on the replay. This will also be available over on our YouTube channel as well. So if you are watching this on the YouTube channel, let me know that you are part of the replay crew. I'm going to give this a few minutes for some people to hop on. If you are here, say hello. I'm not seeing any comments yet. I don't even see anybody's on, so hopefully people will hop on here soon. I might have to end this and go grab my computer. If you're here, say hello. Hi. Okay, Kathy's here. Hi, Kathy. All right, I'm not seeing people, so let me know you guys are here. It is telling me I have a slow connection. Hi, Caitlin. Hi, Morgan. Okay, I'm seeing people now. Hi, Veronica. Hi, Holly. Hi, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. So tonight we are going to be talking about closures. So I do have some supplies. I didn't put together a supplies list for this, but what I will do is I'll put together a blog post, embed this video if you guys ever want to go back and watch it. It's going to be over on the YouTube channel, and then I'll go ahead and embed it on to the blog post with the supplies. Hello, Amanda. Hi, Melody. Hi, Stacy. Okay, yay. Now you have sound. Okay, good. Stacy, I'm glad you have sound now. Okay, so thank you guys so much for hopping on and watching tonight. We are going to be talking all about closures and what are my favorite closures. I need to hop off screen for 1 second because I forgot my container of grommets. So give me just a second. So I will be right back. Talk amongst yourselves. Okay, I'm back. I got my box. This literally just came in from Amazon. Okay, so before we get started, hello, Bailey. Before we get started, I do want to let you guys know that I do not want you guys to feel pressure in any way, shape, or form. I love doing these for free. This will continue to be free. But I do want to do some housekeeping, and I want to get your input on a couple of ideas. Let me, hold on just a second, adjust this. There we go. Okay, that's a little bit better, I think, right? Is that better for you guys? Okay. So I wanted to run a couple of ideas by you guys. I made a post for the event, so hopefully you guys saw the post for the event. I kind of impulsively brought home a baby goat on Friday night. She broke her leg 3 weeks ago, and her owners were unable to get care for her. I took her to the vet yesterday, spent all day at the vet yesterday with her, and then the vet told me the leg needs to be amputated. There's too much infection. The bone is necrotic. I had to go out to Massachusetts. I was told to go to Massachusetts to the large animal hospital for them to amputate her leg. I got out to the large animal hospital called Tufts. They're amazing if you guys are in the New England area and you have livestock. Tufts, the staff at Tufts was absolutely amazing, and the surgeon said that he is going to do everything that he can to save her leg. But that does mean a very lengthy stay at Tufts at the animal hospital, and it also means a surgery. So she has a compound fracture, which means that her bone is basically like this, and her bone started healing like this. So for the last 3 weeks, her bone has been trying to heal itself. So it's been healing like this instead of like this because it wasn't set. So it is calcified, and they need to go in and they need to shave away the calcified areas, and they need to remove the necrotic bone. So what that means is that bone has infection and it was turning brown. So anywhere that bone was that has the infection in the bone, they're going to go in and remove that. But they want to keep her on antibiotics for several days before they perform the surgery so that the infection doesn't spread through her body. I am looking at about $8,000 for this surgery and for her stay there. So I was not anticipating such a large vet bill for this sweet baby, but I have a bleeding heart for animals, and I know a lot of you guys do too. So what I'm doing is tonight, I want to address this before I get into anything, but tonight, if you guys feel like my lives are beneficial for you guys, if, you know, since I do them for free, if you want to in some way give back, it doesn't have to be a lot. It can be $1. It could be whatever you want. Any little bit helps. I am going to accept PayPal, or no, I'm sorry, not PayPal, because PayPal takes fees because I have a business account. I am going to accept Venmo and Facebook Pay. My husband also has Zelle set up to our account, so I can share that the QR code in the group if you guys would like. But my Venmo, if you guys would like to do Venmo, my Venmo is at So Spoiled, SEWSPOILED. Hi, Cynthia. Thank you so much for joining. So if you guys would like to send a Venmo because you guys find that these videos provide you guys with value, then please, I am opening up tonight. I've never done this in the past, and I don't want you guys to feel obligated. I just felt like it was a good platform that if you guys felt like you got value out of tonight's videos, if you wanted to send a tip, any amount, it would be greatly appreciated. And every bit of money. Thank you, Callista, for putting that there. So Callista left the Venmo info for you guys. It's at So Spoiled. If you guys feel that you get any value from these videos, any of the videos I have over on the YouTube channel, I have a blog that also has the videos embedded, and there are shopping links over on the blog that you guys can shop from as well. I do make a commission on those, but any money that is collected from this will be going to take care of the goat. So with that little bit of housekeeping, I also wanted to get your opinion. I am possibly thinking, hi, Lynn. Hi, Alice. So I have been thinking, thank you, Melody. That is so sweet. I have been thinking about opening up a subscription-based platform, either over on YouTube, Patreon, or even on my own website. I've got to figure out the logistics of it. But basically what my thought was, if I opened up a subscription platform, I could do not necessarily one-on-one coaching, but we could do coaching calls where you guys could get on to coaching calls and I could help you work through projects. So it would be a very small group environment where we could do coaching calls. So if you're working on a project and you need some extra input on your project, we could do that through the membership. I wanted to get your input and see how many of you guys would potentially be interested in doing that membership, because if I have to pay to put it on my website, Patreon's going to take money, YouTube is going to take money. I kind of have to weigh out what's going to cost me more to set it up. So anyway, let me know if you guys are interested in that subscription-based platform. It would also be, you guys would also get some content like blog posts and stuff like that. You guys would have access to stuff like that over in the subscription-based platform before other people would have access to it. So that would also be another perk. So let me know if that's something that you guys would be interested in. All right, so now for what you guys came here for. Thank you, Lynn. Now what you guys came here for. So tonight we're going to talk about closures. So I am going to talk about my most used closures, my favorite closures, the closures that I am not the biggest fan of. I will use them, but not as often. So I'm not going to demonstrate those. So I guess let me go ahead and talk about those straight off the bat. Velcro is probably my least used closure because with Velcro and working with pageant clothes, you will get snags. So if the Velcro comes undone in your pageant bin, and a lot of the stuff that we use is Lycra or lace, it can get stuck on those. It can rip very easily. You end up with snags. Thank you, Cynthia. Cynthia says that she would for sure. My knowledge is valuable. Thank you. Yeah, so Stacy, I am working on getting patterns out for dresses. I am in the works of right now 2 different swimsuits and 2 different dress patterns that are in the works of being tested. So yes, they are in the works. Okay, so anyway, so Velcro is probably my least used closure because of the snagging factor. If it gets on something in your bin, it will snag your other clothes and it will ruin your clothes. I absolutely do not do that for my bustle bows. I do snaps. So the other reason that I don't use it for my bustle bows or for any sort of closure is because I will use hooks and bars or I will use snaps for my bustles. I use snaps because then if you need to adjust it, you can just take your seam ripper, pick out the spot where the snap. So you've got 2 parts to a snap. So you have a female and a male. So let's say that the female end is on the dress. You need to move it because your child grew. All you have to do is pick this out and you can move it and adjust it. So if you do that with Velcro, you're going to end up with Velcro showing. So I prefer to use snaps. And like I said, Velcro snags on everything. So it is my least used closure. My second least used closure is a zipper. I will use a zipper. There is a time and a place for a zipper, but 90% of the things that I'm going to make, and maybe this makes me a bad designer in the fact that I'm not out here looking for the next buck, but I like to add grow room to my clothes. Oh, you just bought a bunch of those. Okay, cool. So yeah, I'm going to link these on Amazon for you guys too. Oh, and before I forget, because my daughter is on here, if you guys, speaking of buying things, if you guys are interested in any of my courses, I do have courses on the website. That's another thing that I wanted to talk about, and I completely blanked on that. But my daughter's on here to help me drop those links for those courses. So I have 2 different courses. You can buy them together in a bundle, and my courses teach you guys my techniques for sewing pageant clothes. So I will teach you how to do your ruffles. I will teach you how to do fishing line hem. If you do not know how to thread a serger, I teach you how to thread a serger. I teach you how to do a rolled hem. I teach you how to do a fishing line hem. I teach you how to overlock, how to do a lettuce edge hem, how to stabilize your seams. If you have a sewing machine that you are intimidated to use, either your serger or your sewing machine, I will teach you how to thread it. I will teach you the anatomy of both of your machines. I give you worksheets to practice sewing on, and then I will teach you how to do beautiful ruffles like this on your sewing machine. I will teach you pleats. I will teach you how to do gathers like this. So if you are interested in learning, thank you, Callista. She dropped both links. I hadn't talked about that first one yet. So the Pageant Sewing Masterclass is the bundle that combines both Serger Secrets and the Sew Confident course. So Callista dropped both of them, but the Masterclass is the second link that she just dropped. That one is the link for both of those classes. If you wanted to buy both of those classes combined, it is combined for a discount, so it'll save you a little bit of money. The other link she dropped is called the Designer Dream Pack. If you want to be a designer, if your dream is to become a designer, this is the pack that I put together that has both of the courses. It has my pageant designer planner. So it's a sewing business planner. So it's everything that I needed when I was a pageant designer. And so I give you a price guide. I give you my contract. I give you a sheet for you to figure out what a project costs you to put together, so that way the next time somebody contacts you for a quote for something, you then have those pages to go back in and reference and say, hey, this is very similar to this with this tweak. I use this fabric was this much. And then you can go back and you can give a quote versus just pulling a number out of thin air, and then you're making less than minimum wage. I help you figure out, okay, maybe you charge this much, but maybe you should have charged this much. So next time you'll know how many hours you put in a project, how much the project costs you to put together, and what your profit margins are. So that's in there as well. Plus there is a measurement form. There are croquis. There are mood boards. I give you all kinds of information that I wish I had when I was a designer. And then I also, in that bundle, I also have the pattern for the Lucy Retro apron. The Lucy Retro apron is my first standalone pattern that I released. It is a very versatile pattern. You can use it for mommy and me aprons. You can use it for OOCs. You can use it just for in your kitchen if you just want a cute apron. Also in the Sew Confident class, I do have a free as a bonus for purchasing that course, or if you buy one of the bundles that comes with it. I do have a free pattern for a makeup cape. So if you guys are interested in any of those courses, any of the money that is collected is going to go to pay the vet bill for the goat. So those courses, Callista has linked those below, those bundles, I'm sorry. They include the courses. Oh my goodness. Okay. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I am so glad that I taught you everything you know, and I feel so honored that I get to have a front seat to watch you guys do what you love. All right. Well, thank you for hopping on, Elise. I really appreciate it. All right. So let's get, now that we've talked about the courses and my daughter has hopped on here to leave those links. Good night, Callista. Thank you so much for hopping on to drop those links for me tonight. I love you and I hope your back feels better. Thank you for all your help. All right. So now that we got that housekeeping out of the way, let's talk about zippers. So zippers are my second least favorite closure, because with zippers, especially invisible zippers, you do not have any room for grow room. Where the zipper is set, that is what you have. I mean, yes, with the outfit stretching, you're going to have a little bit of grow room, but you don't have the flexibility with a zipper. And I know this probably makes me, I don't know, a terrible businesswoman. The fact that I want you guys, if I make something for you, I want you to have a longer wear time. I try to give you a year worth of grow room. Obviously, kids grow at different rates, but my goal is to give you 1 year of grow room out of something that I create. If you are creating something for your own child, you want as much grow room out of that as possible so that your kid can wear that outfit as long as possible, and you're not having to slave away at your sewing machine trying to come up with another outfit that can top the outfit that was probably one of your favorites that you've ever made. So zippers are my second least favorite closure for that reason, because they don't allow any flexibility in the grow room area. So let's talk about what are my favorite closures. My two favorite closures in regards to flexibility for grow room are hooks and bars, also hooks and eyes, but they're called bars. The ones I use are called bars, not eyes, because they are just that. They are a bar. So they look like this, and then the hook, goodness gracious, the hook looks like this. I'm sure if you own pageant outfits, you've seen these before. So the hook comes along, and if I can keep it in my hand, the hook comes along and it slides on there like so, and then you can unhook it. Okay, so these are my favorite closures because if I need to adjust something, I leave the hooks in place. I set the hooks at the very edge of the outfit, and then all I have to do is pick out the hand stitching on the bars, and I can move the bars over and adjust for sizing. Okay, so if they pop open, here is a trick if they pop open. You can do this with your fingers, or if they require extra strength, pinch them. You're going to want to pinch them closed so that they're not open so far. If they're sliding out easy, that means that it's not catching. So you want it to catch, and it shouldn't be open enough that it can just slide out. The other thing is if it's just sliding out, it means the outfit isn't tight enough on the child, because you want it to be basically fitted to their skin. You want it to be fit like another layer of skin. So if the outfit is loose and has some ease to it, these will slide out. If the outfit is very fitted to their body, these will not slide off. Okay, so then the other type of closure, this is the type of closure. So, I'm sorry. The reason why those are my favorite, let me mention the reason why those are my favorite is because all right, I'm going to use my hands as an example. Okay, this is the back of your outfit. If I overlap like this, as your kid grows, I can move it, I can move it, I can move it. And then when we get to about here, guess what? Your kid still hasn't outgrown it. You want to know why? Because now here, I can add grommets, and I can make this into a corset back. So this will give you about 6 months of grow room here. And then once you get to here, I've given you another 6 months of grow room. So this dress, because this lace does not stretch, this dress is going to have to be a corset, because the bodice will not stretch. Even though this was made with a 3T pattern, this bodice will not stretch to fit this mannequin. So if you are working, say you're working with one of my patterns and you go to try it on your daughter and it doesn't fit the way you want it to fit, don't worry. You can always add grommets and you can make it into a lace-up back. How much do I overlap? So Kathy, how much I overlap? Really, typically I'm going to do about 1.5 inches-ish. I'm not gonna lie, it all kind of depends on the kids' measurements when I'm patterning things out. Based on a few factors, but in my patterns, when I put my patterns together, it's 1.5 inches plus 1/2 inch seam allowance. So if you take a smaller seam allowance, say here in the back, you're gonna get a little bit more if you want more. So that'll be up to you. So you'll have 1.5 inches up to 1.75 inches if you say did a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Yes. Oh, I for sure give you at least 1 inch. But as you can see with this, because, and also too, it depends on the stretch of the fabric. If I'm planning on using something that isn't going to stretch, I'm going to give you more. If I'm planning for something that is going to have more stretch, you're going to get less of an overlap because your fabric stretches. So anyway, so you're putting together a pattern like this, you put it together, you turn it around and you realize you do not have that overlap. Do not worry, because that's where grommets come in and a lace up back comes in. I will say with the back of your dress, you don't want it too far exposed. You don't want too much of the skin showing. I would say probably no more than this. And then again, when you pull it closed, it'll pull more together, so you'll see less. But ultimately, when it's pulled, you're gonna have about a half inch, and then as the kid grows, you might end up with a little bit more than an inch to maybe 2 inches. But I wouldn't, depending on the size of the child for sure, but I wouldn't go more than say 2 inches in a gap for a corset. So how do I close the placket, or do I put grommets all the way down? I put grommets all the way down, and then, all right, we're using this tonight because I did not have the opportunity yesterday to sew a bustle bow because I was at the emergency vet all day. So we're going to use this as my bustle. Typically, my bustles will have pieces of fabric on the bottom that I was hoping to show you so I can show you how it covers it. But what the purpose of a bustle bow is, the purpose is to cover this section down here. So the whole bodice, I'm going to do grommets all the way down, and then my bustle bow with that fabric down here would cover this section right here. Plus, when I pull all this in, this pretty much closes up on its own anyway. I was hoping to be able to show you guys a better example, but my bustles will snap on right at the bottom of the bodice. So I'll demonstrate that in a second. Okay, now that you guys have seen that, I'm going to take this off the mannequin so that we can talk about placements. I am going to do this in a 2-part series because I am also going to do another video probably later this month. We're going to do a second video showing this. Since I'm showing this on a baby doll, I'm going to show on a cupcake how to set your skirt length on your cupcake, whether your skirt goes up underneath the bodice or if you have a skirt that sits on top, how you can set your snaps and set your cupcake skirt length where you want it so that you don't have sliding and your skirt all stays the same length. Okay, what I need to do now, I am demonstrating with purple thread tonight. You want to match your thread to the color of fabric that you're working with. So this is a pink. If you're working with an OOC that's multiple colors, try to match it to the base color of the fabric. Hello, Denise. So I'm going to sew with purple because I want it to be dark so that you guys can see it. If the eye of your needle is large enough, you can actually double up your thread, meaning put 2 strands of thread through the eye of your needle, which once you fold it in half will give you 4 threads. This eye is a very, very small eye, so I can't do that on this one. But I'm going to try. I don't think I'm going to be able to, but we're going to try. We're going to give it the old college try tonight. Okay. So what that looks like, I've already got 1 through the eye of the needle, and it's folded. Somewhat. Boop. Folded in half. I'm going to take another thread and I am going to thread it through the eye. If it'll go through. I'm getting about half of it through. Got it. Okay, there we go. All right, so even with a very small eye of your needle, you can still do this. Okay, so now, I now have 4 strands of thread instead of just 2. Or instead of just 1. I know some people do it with just 1. If you do it this way, you now are working with 4 strands of thread instead of 1 or 2. And what that does is that means you now have to hand sew less. So you're doing less passes as you go through. 4 strands instead of 2 would have already saved you hours. Exactly, Kristen. So I'm not telling you you're doing it wrong with 2 strands. It's absolutely not wrong. My goal is to save you guys time and make you more efficient. So now I have 4 strands of thread. I've tied it in a knot, which also makes it a bigger knot, so I don't have to sit here and tie it a bajillion times because I now have, hopefully you guys can see that, hopefully that's in focus, but because I have more thread here, it's giving me a bigger knot. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate first how to do the hook and bar. So let me pull out a hook and bar so I can demonstrate how I sew those on. My hook, I mean, honestly, it doesn't really matter what side you do it on. As long as you do your hooks all on one side and your bars all on the opposite side, you're good. It doesn't really matter. But typically, because I am right-handed, I will typically do my hooks on the right because I can grab it and pull it with my right hand. It makes it a little bit easier than trying to do everything with my left. Hopefully that makes sense. So, holding this up. When I put this on the child, I'm going to hook everything across with my right hand. So, having the dress facing you, holding the back with your right hand. For me, this is because I'm right-handed, this is the easiest way for me to do this. So my hook goes on this side. I am putting my hook right at the very edge. So I'm lining this up right at the very edge of this. And like I said, I'm sewing this on in purple. Do not sew this on in purple unless you're working with purple. Do it in a color that matches as close as you can. And then I am going and grabbing, hopefully you guys can see that. I put it through the hole. There are 2 holes here. So I'm just going to go outside of that hole, grab some fabric, and then put it back through the hole. I do not have a thimble, and I'm working with very thick fabric. If you don't have a thimble on you, you can grab a pair of scissors like I'm doing here, and you can push the back so that it's the needle, the back of the needle doesn't go through your finger. I've had that happen numerous times, and I got blood on the dress. Okay. So same thing. I'm going out, grabbing fabric, and coming back in. Pulling that tight. And then I'm going to, I now have that very, very thick, that is not going anywhere. I'm going to go down to this middle spot right here. I grabbed fabric and then I went through the hole. And because this only has one hole, this is going to be really quick and easy. I'm going to go out from the hole, grab fabric, come back in to that hole. I know my thumb is completely in the way. I apologize. Oh, I got a little bit of a knot. There we go. Okay. So if it knots up a little bit, just smooth it out with your finger. So now we have 4 threads already on here. I'm going to do one more pass. That'll give us 8 threads, and that should hold it in place really, really strong. Okay. So now we have 8 threads holding that on. I have 8 threads holding each of these holes over here. I have 8 threads holding over here. And then I'm going to do 8 threads holding each of these holes down here. So I'm going to grab a little bit of fabric and come up through the hole. Come down, grab some fabric, and go through the next hole. Grab fabric, go into this hole. Oof, this fabric is so thick. Scissors, use your scissors as a thimble if you need to. Push it through. Yeah, no worries, Cami. This will also be over on the YouTube channel, and I will embed it on the blog with the blog post as well. Okay. So now each hole has 8 threads. I'm going to slide this to finish it off. I'm going to slide it through. Hopefully you guys can see that and it's in focus. I'm going to slide it through those threads that I just stitched down and then bring the needle through the loop, tie it off. I'm going to do that one more time. Bring it through the loop, tie it off. Stick my needle into the fabric and come out the side. And what this does is this puts the tail inside the fabric so that it does not come untied as easily. And then I'm going to cut it. And now you can't see where that thread ended. Okay. I have just a little bit of thread here. Hello, Caitlin. I have just a little bit of thread here that I'm going to do the bar on the other side. We're going to pretend like we have enough fabric that we can overlap this, though we already know we don't once we get it on the mannequin, but we can pretend. We're pretty good at using our imaginations around here, right, friends? All right, so what I'm going to do is I am going to set my bar over here. Now I want to set the bar to the outside of the fabric, not the inside. I set my hook on this one to the inside. It needs to come across and it needs to grab. So I need the bars to be on this side. Okay, everybody following me? Give me a thumbs up if you're following. Okay, so my bar will be on the outside of the fabric, and on this one I'm going to put it about an inch over. Even though we already know it will not close on the mannequin if I do it that way. I'm grabbing a small bit of fabric and I'm pushing my needle through the hole, pulling it tight, grabbing more fabric, and then I'm coming across to that second hole, pulling it tight. I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to go back into that opposite hole. Okay. So now each side, ooh, itchy nose. All right, so Stacy's following along. All right, so each side now has 4 threads. So we want each side to have 8. So we've got to do this one more time to each side. So in the fabric, through the hole. All right, this right-hand side now has 8. One more time on this one. And I just need to come through the fabric on this one. I do not need to come through the hole. So I'm going to come through the fabric, grab the fabric, but to the outside rather than coming through the hole. And I'm going to bring it through the loop, pull. Through all of those threads again. I want to come through all those threads. Oh, she gave lots of thumbs up. Aw. All right. Melody. So if I am sewing on through, like this side is through the outside, so I'm grabbing the fabric on the outside of the dress. With this one, I'm grabbing the fabric from the inside of the dress. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. So for the bar, you're grabbing the fabric to the outside. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick my needle into the fabric and I'm going to bring it out. This is really difficult to hold this on camera while live and try to explain what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm pushing the needle in through the fabric and I'm bringing it out through the side of this fabric. If you want to, you can go the opposite direction and bring it out along this side like we did with the hook. It's completely up to you. This is just a little bit closer. Yeah, no, you don't go all the way through, Melody. You do not want to go all the way through. You can go all the way through. You're just going to see the thread. So for me, I don't go all the way through. Okay, I am going to trim my thread. Give it a little twist. And now that is on there. I do not have enough thread to do the bottom piece, so I need to rethread. Thanks, Kimberly. I will have this over on YouTube. It will stay in Facebook for 30 days until Facebook decides to delete it since they have a new policy. And it will also be on the website for you guys to watch back later. All right, so let me rethread my needle. We're going to do the same thing. We want 4 threads. Okay. So fold it in half so you have 2 threads. Okay. And then we're going to do that one more time. And I'm using my serger cone thread fabric. I don't necessarily recommend it, but this is what I have on my table, so this is what we're going to use. Serger cone fabric is thread, not fabric, is not as thick as your universal thread. So I definitely recommend using your, dang it, I had it through the eye and then I pulled my hand away. I definitely recommend using your thicker sewing machine thread versus serger thread. It'll give you a better hold. But like I said, at this point, I'm doing 4 threads. with this, and I'm not planning on keeping it like this for this video. You know, this is just for this video. So no worries, Julie. Hey, thanks for joining. Better late than never. My mom always tells me I'm going to be late tonight on funeral, so you're fine. We made it, right? Okay, so I'm tying this one more time. So Julie, what you missed, really the only thing you've missed so far is I am giving my tips on sewing on hooks and bars. When I thread my needles, I will thread my needles with 4 threads instead of just 1 or 2. The reason I double up my thread, so I will put 1 thread through, make it long enough that I can double it up, and then I will do a second thread, make it long enough that I can double it, and now I have 4. The reason I do that is because it saves time and effort, and I don't have to put my needle through as many times. It cuts my work by about half. Okay, so now that we've got that threaded, we're going to do the bottom half here. Me too, girl. Yeah. Well, at least I'm in good company. I feel like a lot of us creative people, we just run on our own time, right? All right. So what I did was I grabbed some fabric just like I did on the others, and I come through the first hole. Then I'm coming down, grabbing some fabric. Again, I'm just catching the fabric. I'm not going all the way through. I apologize. I should have made that more clear previously, but I'm just barely grabbing the fabric and coming through the hole. Okay. Just enough to catch that upper layer of fabric, but not all the way through. Okay. So this one, you can see this one right here has 4 threads holding it on. Okay, we've got the second one now has 4 threads holding it on. I'm going to grab some more fabric, poke it through that first hole. Okay, this one now has 8 threads. And when I bring this down and into the fabric, this one is going to have 8 threads. Now I'm coming up just outside of the bar. Hopefully you guys can see that. I am not going into the hole. I'm going through the fabric, just grabbing the fabric, but not going through the hole. Sliding my thread through the loop to make a knot. So I've got 1 knot, pull it tight, slide my needle through that clump of thread here. Slide the needle all the way through. Use your thimble if you have one. Use a pair of scissors if you constantly lose your thimbles like I do. Just push it through. Okay. And so now I have a double knot. That's not going anywhere. I am going to stick my needle through the fabric, and I'm going to come out the side. You can see it's coming out the side. Pull it. Okay. So you can see it's just come out over here. When I cut my thread, I don't have a tail that you can see. So my tail is inside on both of these. My tail is inside. So now when I put this on the child, it's not going anywhere. I can shake this. I can wiggle it. It's not going anywhere. See, Melody, like I'm even pushing it in the opposite direction and it's not coming apart. It's only coming apart if I push on it and pull. So make sure that it's nice and tight fitting. But again, that makes a big difference too if you're buying it on Amazon, something that is China made versus something you hand make. These are quite thick. I can squeeze these closed. And when I put it through the bar, it's not going anywhere. It's not coming unhooked. Okay, you can see it only comes if I pull on it with force. Okay, so now that we have hooks covered, let's talk about snaps while I have this threaded. Yeah, I mean, look, we all start somewhere, right? Whew. I had like dog hair or something on my nose. I apologize. Okay, so let's talk about snaps. I will use snaps for my bustles. Okay, again, we're using our imagination. We're going to pretend that this bustle bow matches this dress. I am not an idiot. I'm very well aware. I just did not have time to make a horsehair bustle for this dress like I wanted to because I was at the animal hospital yesterday in Massachusetts. So, all right. So when I want to put my bustle on, I will figure out, once this is, say, overlapped, I will figure out where the middle is. Okay. At this point, I would have all of these hooks and eyes, or if I'm grommeting, I would have all of this already done for me. Figure out where my center is. And so for this, I'm going to hold it just to save time. Okay. Now I'm going to take my bustle, figure out where the center of my bustle is, put it there. Okay, holding it in place. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of chalk and I'm going to mark my bustle. If I can hold everything in my hand here. I'm going to mark my bustle. Where do I want my snap on my bustle? So I did it in blue so you guys can see it. So I took my chalk, put it there. Now I'm going to take this and push this down onto the dress. I don't think you can see that, but it did leave a tiny little mark with the chalk. Now I'm going to go through and I'm going to darken it up so that you guys can see where that was. So I marked up here, push this down onto the dress so that where this hits, I now know, holding my hands here, that if this touches here, that's where that snap should go. Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense. Okay? Now, I have to do that with the other side. I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. So, I am, how far apart should we set? So that is going to depend on your child's measurements. You're going to set them for your child's measurements. So I can't give you a how far apart you should space that because that's going to depend on your kiddo's measurements. You want to set it to make sure that it fits them. So if you, all right, so let me open this up and let me explain this with a tape measure. Okay, so let me measure this first and I will tell you. This would have been easier on the mannequin. Okay. So this bodice, because it has no stretch to it, is 20 inches all the way around. This bodice is 20 inches around the widest part under the armpit area. It's 20 inches. Okay. So let's say that your kid is 19 inches. Okay, we already know that this is going to need grommets in order to fit that mannequin right there. But for hooks and eyes, okay, you want it to fit 19 inches. This is 1 inch. This panel here is 1 inch. So I will measure, I will put my hook at the very, very edge. Okay, my hook goes at the very, very edge. And then I will do some math. So if your kid has a 19-inch chest, I'm going to put, okay, this isn't quite 1 inch. So again, we're gonna use our imaginations, but okay, so this is technically 1 inch all the way over here. So we're gonna do some math. If your kid is 19 inches in the chest and you know that this dress is a 20-inch dress, you're going to set your hooks right here at 19. Now, keep in mind ease. If you are working with a cotton fabric instead of something stretchy, then you're going to want to include some ease. And I would give about a 1/2 inch of ease to 3/4 of an inch in ease if you are working with non-stretch fabrics, because if you make it super duper tight and your kid goes to move, then you're going to pop a seam. But you do want it to still fit pretty snug. So I wouldn't go like too big. I would say about a 1/2 inch would be where I would set it to. But yeah, you're just going to do a little bit of math, figure out how big your kid's measurement is, and go from there. If you are working with a super stretchy fabric, like a swimsuit lycra, and you're putting together a swimsuit, then you're working with less fabric as it is. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to do a test strip, figure out how far that fabric stretches. But that's a whole nother lesson. So just to simplify this for you as easy as I can, it just comes down to math and your kids' measurements. You figure out how big your bodice is, and then you're going to subtract how much you need. So if your kid, say, is a 19-inch chest, this is 20 inches all the way around, you're going to subtract 1 inch, and that 1 inch will be where you will mark for your bars. Make sense? All right. So now I have marked on my skirt where I am going to put my bustle bow. For time, what I'm going to do to save time is on one side, I'm just going to pin it in place, and we're going to pretend that I've already sewn down a snap on one side. The other thing you can do, I don't necessarily recommend it, but you can do it, is you could sew one side down so that it just stays in place. And then the other side, you could put a snap on the other side so that it opens and then it snaps. Okay, so I've pinned through this to hold it in place, and then on this side, I am going to take my snap. So I'm going to do, on your snaps, you have a male and then you have a female. Okay, so the male goes into the female to make it snap. And I just lost my thread and my needle. Are they sticking out of something? Okay, well, that's not a great way to be on a live and lose my thread. Talk amongst yourselves for a second while I figure out where my needle is. All right, maybe we'll skip ahead to grommets. So basically we're going to do the same thing that we did with the hooks and bars. We're going to do that with our snaps. You have holes in the snaps, just like on the hooks and bars. You're going to choose which side you want to put your male side, which side you want to, I'm sorry, this is the male. Which side you want to put the male side, which side you want to put the female side. I typically will put my male on the bow and I will put my female on the dress, so that way when I push, it's easier for it to snap. Yeah, Cynthia, same, but I'm live, so this is very inconvenient. When I push, it will snap in versus me trying to stick my hand up the dress and push from the back of the dress to get it to snap to the bow. I will typically put my male end on the bow and then my female in onto the dress so that it goes up against the body and it's using the body to stop and pop it in. Hopefully that makes sense. Let me know if you guys are following along with what I'm explaining. Okay, so this is not the productive live that I was really hoping this was going to be. Nope. All right, well, fun. Okay, so I have this handy dandy little tool here. Okay, so this is what it's called. It's called a Simflex. It's an expanding sewing gauge. It is great for marking if you want to. They show buttons, but I use this for when I want to mark for my hooks and bars. I use this little gauge so that way everything stays consistent, and I will mark where I want each one so that it stays consistent. I'll usually measure it out on my my grid from my cutting mat, and then I will hold it in place. So then I would just go through and I will mark those spots. If you do not have one of those, I like to show you guys cool gadgets because I have lots of gadgets. But if you do not have extra gadgets, you can easily do this. You can take your ruler, you can lay your ruler onto the bodice, and you can mark that you want the top to start at 0. So Cassie, I don't have any of the supplies for this linked. When I put together a blog post, I will absolutely put together the blog post, embed this video, and put together a supplies list with all of the gadgets that I talk about. Okay, so what you can do with this is you can figure out how far you want yours spaced apart. So from the top of this, I can go down 2 inches. And then I could mark this at 2 inches. And that would be where my next one would start, would be from here, from the top to this next one would be 2 inches. And that would be the top of my next bar would be 2 inches. Okay. Then I can take this and go from the top of this, measure down 2 inches and mark it with my chalk. Keep things in my lap tonight. Okay, go from here, measure from the top, measure down 2 inches, and I am exactly at the tippy top of my dress. So that bar, you can see that bar will hit just at the bottom of this baby doll. Okay. So that's if I'm doing what, sweetheart? I know. She's at the hospital. She had to go to the hospital to get herself all better. So for those of you guys who are just now joining and you guys joined late, we adopted a goat. We rescued a goat who had a broken leg, and she is currently in the animal hospital. They are trying to save her life. If you guys feel like you guys are getting any value from this live, and this is something I've never done before, I do not ever ask for this. So if you feel compelled, great. If you do not feel compelled, please do, or you cannot, you're not in a position that you can, please do not feel pressure in any way. But I am asking for tips tonight if you guys feel like you are getting value out of this, or if you guys would like to support me by buying one of the courses. I don't know if there's anybody on here, that could link the masterclass. And then Callista also linked the bundle that has absolutely everything. If there's anybody who could grab those links, if you're available to grab those links, if you could link those below. If you would like to support me in a way that you would get something from supporting me besides just one of these videos, those courses and the bundles are available. If you would like to leave a tip, if you just want to do like $1, $2, then my Venmo is at So Spoiled. You can leave me a tip kind of as a thank you for doing these videos, but please, please, please do not feel obligated. This is only if you are, if you're in a position that you can afford to do something. I don't want to take money if you are not in a position that you can contribute. So please do not feel obligated. I am just, if you're available to help, I would absolutely appreciate it. We are looking at approximately $8,000 for this vet bill. So I would appreciate any and all help if you are willing to give it. All right, so I have marked this in blue. You can see where I've marked it. If I were to do hooks and bars, if I'm doing grommets, I'm going to put my grommets through the center. I've made this so that it thickens this up for the grommets with that purpose, okay? Another gadget that I use, it is not plugged in at the moment, to put holes for my grommets is I use a soldering iron. I will mark my hole, and I will mark my hole for my grommets. I do 1 every inch. So I will start at the top, and I'm going to mark this in red. You may not be able to see it on camera. Should I do, yeah, I'll just do it in blue. I was trying to do a different color so it didn't confuse you, but I'll just do it in red. Okay, so we have 1 inch, and then I'm going to go down 1 inch, mark my 1 inch through the center. Give me just a second, so I'll do a couple of these and then I'll flip it around so you guys can see this. Okay, through the center, 1 inch. Okay, come down 1, mark it 1 inch. Now this is where that cool little gadget comes in handy because it makes sure everything is even. We're doing it like this. If I'm trying to bend it backwards, it's not always even. But, okay, so the ones through the center are for my grommets. Those are every inch. So I've got up at the very top, which you wouldn't use. This one I would actually come down a little bit more. I don't know why I marked it there. But anyway, you'd come down by like a 1/2 inch. I'd probably put it just under where this bulk is. I'd probably start here and then come down. So I just need to hit this with like an iron and remove these spots. We're going to do this again so you guys can see the right way to do it, because Christy's talking and not paying attention to what the heck I'm doing. Okay. Hello, Carrie. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to mark this, and my first grommet is going to go just under where the bulk of where this was folded under. It created a ton of bulk, so I'm going to put my first grommet just underneath that. Then I'm going to measure down 1 inch from there, and that will be my second grommet. So that's my second grommet is just barely above where my first grommet, or my third grommet, was supposed to be. So you can see it starts here, 1 inch down. And so we want to keep this through the center if you're doing grommets. So on my baby dolls, I do not. If I am doing a cupcake style dress where it's the 2-piece, I do put boning in mine. I'm going to do a whole tutorial about where I put my boning, how I put my boning, how I do my bodices. That is going to be a whole video showing all about that. But on my baby dolls, I do not put boning anywhere into my baby doll dresses. Once I get into the two-piece dresses, I do put boning in them though. And I put lots of boning in my dresses for support and structure. Okay, so now I've marked this all through. You're very welcome, Kathy. Okay, so now I've marked it every inch down through here. So I am not catching this top part up here. It's just way too much to try to grommet through. So I go directly underneath it, 1 inch down, and I'm going through the center. I will then do the exact same thing on the other side, marking it, and then I'm going to, on this, I would mark it to the outside so I can, because it's grommets. I'm going to then, once I've marked it, do this, make sure that my lines line up with each other. So to save time on the live, I am not going to fully do that, but I do need to plug this in because I've been sitting here talking without this plugged in, thinking I was going to be sewing snaps and stuff on first. So this has to heat up, so give me just a second for this to heat up. And then we're going to set up my grommet press. So if you guys don't know, this is called a grommet press. You do not have to have one of these fancy little gadgets, but this gadget is a time saver and, for me, quite literally, a lifesaver. Because your other option is to take a mallet, and then when you buy grommets at the store, well, Joann's isn't open anymore. I was about to say Joann's, but that's not an option. They come with a kit like this. If you do not get this exactly lined up just right, your grommet will not stay in place and you will get weird curls. So what you do is you take your outfit, you have to have 5 hands to hold it in place while holding this in place and holding this in place. And then you take your mallet. I'm going to tip this down so you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay, so we're going to pretend that there's a dress in here. Okay, here's a tissue. All right, so we're going to hold this in here. This already has the hole. I've punched the grommet through. Okay, let's just go ahead and do it. Okay. So we're going to put this, see, it's already fallen apart. And this is just tissue. This is what I was blotting my lips on before the live so that I didn't get lipstick on my teeth before the live. Okay, so Amanda says she loves her grommet press. Ooh. All right. So you want to put the back on while not catching the fabric. And my tissue ripped too much, which can happen with fabric too, which is another reason I don't like these things. Okay, so I've caught the fabric. Okay, we're going to lay this on here like this. And then I'm going to put my cap on and I'm going to hammer. And that is how you grommet. However, if you look at it, I don't know if you guys can see it, but it got misshapen. Which, once you put your lace through there, if you use ribbon or whatever you use for your laces, you won't see that that's misshapen. It's not a big deal. You can even rhinestone over it if you want to. But that's what happens with these things. And as you can see, I'm just working with tissue with this, and it was, you can see, you need 900 hands to be able to do that. Okay, this is nice and hot. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one of these that's further down, and I'm going to, you can see this has been used a whole bunch. I'm going to stick this through my fabric, and I'm going to melt a hole going straight through, okay, and coming back out. So what this does, I don't want to lay this on something and melt my table, so give me just a second. I apologize for stopping mid-thought. So what this does is this creates the hole, but it also stops your fabric from continuing to get a bigger hole. Okay, so I've punched it from the front and I've punched it from the back. It does leave a little bit of melted goo behind, especially because I already have other fabric kind of melted onto that, but you can see my hole. Okay. Now, what I can do is I can set up my grommet press. So my grommet press has different sizes to match everything up to. And I want to use these bad boys right here. Yes, so I don't even know if I said that out loud. Did I explain that this is a soldering iron? So this is a soldering iron. I use it to melt a hole in stuff instead of trying to cut the hole. It just makes a nicer, cleaner hole and makes my life 1,000 times easier. So soldering iron for the win. You can pick these up on Amazon for next to nothing. I will link them for those of you whenever I get the blog post put together. For those of you guys who would like to support my links and buy them on Amazon, I will have it linked on Amazon for you. Okay. So what I'm doing is I am double checking that these fit and that is the right size. Okay, so this little tool is a grommet press. It's been a minute since I've put this thing together, so I apologize. Okay, and then there's a little screw on the side over here. And of course, I did not put a screwdriver on the table. So, let's see, what do I have that I can unscrew this with? So the way this works is this is supposed to go down into this hole. Let me go find a screwdriver really quick. I apologize for having to get off camera so many times tonight. 2 seconds. Maybe I can find my thread. Because I'm live, you know I'm not going to be able to find a screwdriver that'll fit this thing. Oh, look at that. Okay, it does work. All right, perfect. There we go. Okay, so I am unscrewing this screw over here on the side. Okay, I want to clear this hole so that this drops down into the hole. Oh my gosh. Giving me all kinds of issues tonight, guys, because I'm live. Go in. The heck? Okay, maybe we won't demonstrate this tonight because it doesn't want to go in. And I don't really want to wrestle with it for like 40 minutes. This might be on part 2. I'll be honest. What time is it? I can't tell what time it is, guys. Can somebody tell me what time it is? Go in. There we go. Okay, I swear I never have this issue with this. And then because I'm live, it just did not want to fit inside the hole. Okay, 9:22. Okay, so we've gone way over an hour anyway. But all right, I got it in. Whew, don't know why it was giving me such an issue. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so we're going to do this super duper quickly. Okay, what I'm going to do is I am placing my male end of my grommet down first. Let me hold this up so you guys can see a little bit better. This is the male end. So you can see it's taller. And then my female ends look like this. They're just little rings. Yeah, you are very welcome, Stacy. That's what I am here for. I am happy to provide information for you guys. I love doing these lives. Like I said, we'll do a second one later this month to show you guys a couple more techniques. Okay, so what I'm going to do is lay my dress face down onto this hole. I need to make my hole a little bit bigger. It's not wanting to go on there. You can mess with, so that's the other thing too with the soldering iron is you can mess with it and make your hole bigger little by little versus trying to cut it. When you cut, you can't really control how wide your hole ends up. Okay. Set that down without melting my table here. All right, so let's lace this on. Come on. Okay, so I'm trying to show you guys how this is like life-saving and so much easier. And tonight is just not the night that this wants to cooperate. Because I have to cut away bits of plastic. I swear this is so life-changing and so much faster. And if I wasn't on camera trying to demonstrate how much easier this is, I wouldn't have half of these issues I'm having. All right, so anyway, soldering iron puts the hole through. You put your male end of your grommet to the outside. Make your hole. Cut away any thick plasticky bits if you need to, so that the grommet will stay in place. Normally, I don't have that much plastic built up on my soldering iron. I should have cleaned it before tonight. Goodness gracious. Okay, this hole, there's no reason that this shouldn't fit in this hole. I don't know what. I'm having technical difficulties because I'm live. That's exactly what. And it's making a really ugly hole. All right, let's try this. If I can't get this in just a second, I'm going to do this on the second video because, yeah, I can't get it in there. I'm going to have to play with this off camera, and I've already gone over the hour, and I need to get my dogs outside to go potty. All right, so we'll do this on round 2. On round 2, what I'm going to do is on round 2, I will show you how to set your dresses. So if you have your skirt that you're snapping to the outside of your bodice or to the inside of your bodice, how to set your skirt so that everything is the same length, and so that your skirts stay in place. If you guys have any questions before I hop off, I apologize. I didn't get to fully demo that. I just feel like before I embarrass myself even more, being like, yes, let me show you what to do. And then I'm over here struggling. I swear the grommet press does make life easier, and having the soldering iron does make life easier because you're not just hacking a hole into your fabric. You are melting a hole into the fabric. I think I just have way too much plastic on that from, well, not even plastic, but like from melting Lycra previously. You can see it's kind of thick on here now, and I need to cut some of this away. So Lynn, you are very, very welcome. If you guys have any questions, I'll stay on for a bit while I'm cleaning this up, and I can answer some questions. And then what I'll do is I'll schedule another live. Let me just talk to my family, figure out what is going on with the goat. If you guys would like to help me name the goat, there is in the group, there is a picture of her. We are opening up for names if you guys want to help us name her. I have been calling her Daisy because Oopsie Daisy, so Daisy, short for Oopsie Daisy, because Oopsie Daisy, she ended up in the back of my car, and I didn't tell my husband before I brought her home, so Oopsie Daisy. So I've been calling her Daisy or Oopsie Daisy. But I do have a post if you guys would like to help us name our new little goaty girl. Okay, well, good. I'm feeling completely embarrassed. So, because I swear I don't normally have this issue, and because I'm live, anything that can go wrong will go wrong while you're live, right? So Holly, yes, I've been doing this for, oh gosh, I don't want to say how long, but far too long for me to be making these mistakes. But I mean, it happens. So I'm glad that it makes you feel better in your mistakes, because yeah, we all make mistakes. Even me. Yeah, so if you guys have any questions, and if you guys are interested too, I am going to probably create a TikTok, maybe a YouTube channel for her, but to follow her progress as she heals. if you guys are interested in following along, I will share that in the group, and I'll share updates in the group for you guys too. So in case you guys aren't on, say if I decide to do it on TikTok, if you're not on TikTok, I'll share it in the group. I probably just won't share as much in the group since it's a sewing related group. I'll share important highlights and updates, but just if you kind of just want to follow along in general, I'll either create a TikTok or a YouTube for our little girl, and you guys can follow along on her journey over there. I'll let you guys know. All right, let me know if you guys have questions. No, Kathy, I do not use colored grommets to match my dresses. A, because I buy mine in bulk. So as you can see, I buy mine in massive quantities. So no, I don't. If I want it to match my dress, I will cover it with rhinestones to match the dress. I don't go through. You can also, if I'm doing a natural dress, I could also go through and paint the grommets so that they match if I really wanted to. That depends on the customer and what we're looking at budget-wise. But for the most part, I just leave them silver. It's getting covered with the lace anyway, and it's on the back side. Not super important. Okay, got it on here. Ah! Oh my goodness. See, this is this is why I can't do these things while live. And I just ripped my fingernail. Oh gosh. Oh, I ripped it back past the skin. Okay, let's try that again. Yep, I sewed them. I put 16s in case you're wondering what size I use. I'll typically do 16s around the outside of them. Okay, let me stand up and do this instead of trying to sit. And that didn't go all the way through. All right, well, I'll play with it later. Pick it all off. Yeah. So anyway, so they look like this, and then I'll just do like 16s around it. This got too bulky on the back. I've got to pick it off because the ring didn't set, but I can't keep anything in my hands tonight. You can do stones, you can do pearls, you can do lots of stuff. Tonight is the night of if it can go wrong, it will. And of course, because I'm live. But anyway. All right, any more questions? If not, I'm gonna hop off here and then I'll talk to my family and figure out when I can go live with you guys again. Oh, yeah, I probably should grab some tweezers. Good call, Cynthia. Good call. I don't know. I just can't keep things in my hands tonight when I'm trying to show you guys. Yes, Kathy, it will be soon. I need to figure out what's going on with the little goatee girl. And we have family reunion is next weekend. I'm not going because I will be here with the baby, but I don't know. I don't want to plan it for next Sunday because I know I will be home when I wasn't planning on being home in case the goat needs me. I don't want to be out here on a live and have a screaming goat literally right there. Like not even 6 feet away from me is the door to where the baby's going to be in the house. So that would be kind of distracting. And then I probably wouldn't get much done on the live because you guys would just hear a screaming goat. So yeah, we'll play it by ear. I'm going to get her home, see how she's doing, talk to the family, see what they have going on schedule wise so that I'm not interfering with anybody else's schedule if I try to go live. So yeah, I'll let you guys know for the next live, but we will have 2 lives this month. This video, if you guys are popping on at the tail end of this video will be live in the group for the next month, for 30 days. It stays live in the group for 30 days. And then after 30 days, Facebook is starting to delete videos. But what you can do is I am uploading them over onto our YouTube channel. So you can watch them on YouTube, or you can go over there being embedded into my blog. And I do a blog with a written out tutorial for all of this. And I give you a supplies list on the blog, and I embed the video on the blog post. So if you guys would like to watch this on the replay, you can do that too. So hopefully this was helpful. I did not get as much to show you guys as much as I wanted to, but hopefully what I did show you guys was helpful. And then we can go from there and we will work on snaps, and I'll finish up the grommets on the next video. Have a great night, guys. Thanks for everything. Bye.